Hello, welcome back. We're going to take a look at the power of our mind today. Just that. You could actually say that about every single video here because we don't appreciate our power. We don't appreciate our power of decision right now in the present moment. And we run off and make ourselves really, really small. Hmm, I know. How unflattering. Well, nobody ever said that the spiritual path was for flattering and smoothing the ego. Rather, it's for exposing all of our stuff. Insert another word that starts with S. Our drama, our psychodrama, and looking at it, forgiving and releasing it, and letting it go. So we look at it, and it all comes up. Even if we don't want it to, deep down, we really do want it to, because we deep down all want the peace of God and nothing else. We want the peace of God. That's why we embark on this wild ride, because it seems wild sometimes, this wild ride that we call the spiritual path. We want the peace of God. So, here in the world where we appear to be this thing, a body, we need to remind ourselves multiple times, again and again, as many times as we can and must, rinse, repeat, that we want the peace of God and nothing else. So along the way, it's going to feel like we're torn between two voices. And this is where we appear to find ourselves in the world. It really is. It appears that we're torn between the voice of the Holy Spirit, our inner teacher, and the ego's voice, which is constantly shouting at us. It does. It appears that we're torn, and it appears in the present moment that we have a choice to make. So we make it. In truth, we've never left our home in God. Ideas leave not their source. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker, and you are the thought of God. So is everybody else, for that matter. So in truth, we've never left, but we're having a dream, a nightmare of separation. So while we appear to be here, we remind ourselves again and again of what we really want, the peace of God. That's what we all deep down want. It's what we're all seeking. Again, you would not be here watching this particular video amidst all the other content on social media if you didn't want the peace of God. Now, yesterday, right? So, why does the ego's voice seem so insistent if it's not real? And it is not real. So, why is it so loud? Why is it so insistent? Well, it's because we want it. Never doubt the power of mind to believe in something and fashion a completely fantasy realm out of nothing because it wants it to be true. siding with the ego, we have made a decision by siding with it that we want it, that we want to see separation. So voila, what do we see? But separation, a world of fear, suffering, competition, warfare, and all of the drama that passes for life. The ego's voice is insistent because we want it. So, what happens when you change your mind? You could say, well, I don't want that. Good. Remind yourself of that again and again and again and again and again, as many times as you can and must. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. The spiritual path is not the place for this common popular attitude of, that's so yesterday. I mean, how many times have you heard somebody say that they don't want to take a look at something again because it's so yesterday? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's so 1987. It's so last week. I've seen that before. I don't need that again. Really? Have the peace of God yet and nothing else? Okay, then. I mean, we should have this conversation with ourselves. Well, we're having it right now. We're having it right now because our inner teacher wants us to have this conversation often so that we choose his voice, that we choose the voice for God instead of the ego, which is nothing and knows nothing. Yet we've got so accustomed to identifying with it that it appears to take us a long time to choose differently. So make this choice again and again. This is an invitation to make the choice for peace, for the voice for God instead of the ego. Most definitely. When we really accept truth just as it is, the ego's gone. Truth is perfect oneness, not individuality, not specificity, not separation. Perfect oneness. So, something very interesting that happens here on the path, happens to all of us, is there are moments where it is going to feel like we can't hear the voice of our inner teacher. So here's an interesting point. This is a question, a very valid question that often comes up here is, how do I hear the voice of my inner teacher? I can't hear it. Well, yeah, that's quite a common situation on the path because there are days where it feels like none of this is working. I mean, if you haven't had them yet, you're going to. Isn't that exciting? It comes up. So let's understand this, that our inner teacher does not always speak to us in spoken language like we're speaking right now. He doesn't always address you in your native language or your second or third language or something like that. Our inner teacher speaks to us in many ways. Sometimes it's not in language at all, and it's simply a feeling, a gut feeling, an intuitive hit. It's often an intuitive hit. It might be something that you see with the body's eyes, or hear, or touch that invokes this feeling where you just know That's your inner teacher speaking to you. It could be something that someone else says, or you could be driving down the highway and see a billboard, and that reminds you of something. An image reminds you of something. It could be a thought that the mind generates, it could be a memory that reminds you of who you really are. That's your inner teacher speaking to you. So there are many different ways that this happens. Ours is to simply be still and listen, to be receptive and invite our inner teacher to speak to us. His voice is as loud as our willingness to listen. The Holy Spirit's voice is as loud as our willingness to listen. Again, we're back to the power of our willingness, the power of choice and decision that we all have. Now, this is so that his voice is as loud as our willingness to listen because he does not violate our free will. We have to make the choice to listen. This is very good and it's deliberate because it won't work if things are forced on us. The Holy Spirit does not force. Jesus does not force us. You're not forced to continue to watch this video. Will it help you immeasurably and save you time? Oh, yeah, of course it will, but we don't have to continue to watch anything. We don't have to do anything we don't want to. And the Holy Spirit, recognizing this, knows that our free will is powerful. And he will not violate that by shoving enlightenment down our throats. It's not something that's forced on you. The voice of our inner teacher is as loud as our willingness to listen. So if we're totally willing to listen, what do we hear? Totally. Yeah, the voice of our inner teacher and not the ego. So, question for all of us, how willing are you to listen? And the title of this video, what do you want truly? Because that's what you're going to see. You want the ego, separation. You want a sack of water, basically 80% water. You want a serious limitation. Or do you want the peace of God? Do you want separation and all of the suffering that it brings? Or do you want the peace of God? Which do you want? Because what we want is what we're going to see. This is how powerful mind is. What we want is what we're going to see, and we're invited here in this course to want the peace of God. We're invited to go beyond money and cars and hot, sexy lovers and beautiful food and a cool house to live in that's all fancy and cool art on the walls and nice threads and stuff. We're invited to go beyond that to what we really want, all of us, the peace of God. Because each of us recognizes deep down that we've never left our source. You're at home in God, where you've always been, and I am too, and so is your ex, and so is your worst political enemy, and your best friend, all of us. There is only perfect oneness. So when you want the peace of God, what will you see? Yeah. Yeah. So we start where we are. This is a famous saying in spirituality, start where you are. In fact, it's a really, really excellent book by the Buddhist nun Pema Chodron. It's called Start Where You Are. And it doesn't mean that you have to stay put exactly where you're seated, because you may get called to go answer the telephone or go to work or go to the bathroom or something like that. It simply means awareness of the present moment. We spend almost all our time thinking about the past or the future. We rehash things that have gone by, and they're gone. And it's really easy for us to accept that with the so-called rational, intellectual thinking mind. Yeah, past is past, future's not here. Yeah, all right, so what? Well, we act as though it is very real. The future's not here, it's not real. The past is gone, it's not real either. It's not the present, it's not right now. They don't exist. Yet we behave as though that's the most ridiculous thing that we've ever heard. Of course they're real. What's not here and what's gone by. Yeah, of course they're here right now. And we know that they're not, yet we act differently. So, what we call the spiritual path is, in fact, an adult wake up call. It really is, to come back to our responsibility for the choices that we make, that we ourselves make in the present moment, which determines everything. We're invited to allow our inner teacher to choose for us. That's a choice that we make. Run the show. We're invited to allow truth to be just as it is. And here, while we appear to be here, we're invited to give the body over to our inner teacher for the purposes of healing the mind, for extending love to our brother who is us. He's not like us, he is us. There is no separation of any kind. When we forgive, we're forgiving ourselves. Now, the same goes when we're ego clinging and lashing out and blaming. When we blame somebody else, whom do we blame? Exactly, we blame ourselves. So, we're invited to give the body over to our inner teacher for his purposes. And that's what it's for extending love to the Son of God. So that's what we're invited to do. It's really important, as we wrap up here, it's really, really important to recognize the power of mind. This is what all of this is about. Our present moment decision. There's one choice to make, and there are two possibilities. Only two, not 8 billion, not 500 billion. Two. The voice for God or the ego? Truth or illusion? Life or death? Light or dark? Love or fear? Characterize this in any way that you choose. That is the choice that we have in the present moment. So we could choose peace, or we could choose constant warfare. And it really does come down to the choice that we make right now, because this is all we have right now. Again, the past is gone. The future is not yet here. So let's not occupy our mind with constant thoughts about what happened yesterday or what's to come tomorrow. They're not here. right now, we're at home in God, one with God, where we've always been. What we call the spiritual path and all of the prayers and all of the readings and watchings of videos and all of the meditations and exercises that go into it are a matter of our clearing the veil. They're removing the obstacles to our awareness of who we are. And you know who you are. You know what you are, and you know where you are. And we're all there right now in perfect oneness. Time is an illusion. Space is an illusion. There's perfect oneness. We're not separate from our brother by space or time. Those are completely made up constructs of a mind that wishes to see itself as separate. When you withdraw this wish to see yourself as separate, it's like turning on a light in a dark room. So let's all feel for the light switch and flip it on, because the power's always on. It never goes out. The light will dawn. And what will happen to the darkness then? It will be gone, as though it were never there. And it was not there. It's not here right now. And we have the power to accept this and allow this right now. So let's do that. All right. So welcome to all of you who have just joined us. This is A Course in Miracles. And perhaps you knew this coming in, and perhaps you did not, but this is what it's all about. This is a course in mind training. The goal of it is for us to clarify our perception, to see things as they are, rather than the way that we have fashioned them, the way we've made them. Which, as you look around and scroll your social media feed, is real easy to tell is a hot mess. We have the power to set all of that aside. So thank you to all of you who have joined us here recently. There have been a number of you who have subscribed recently. And if you have not yet, here's the subscription button. It's the arrow in the corner of your screen here. I would invite you to go ahead and click that and join us, because you know that you want the peace of God. We all do, whether we actively deny it or not. And we can say, yeah, you're wrong. Yeah, I don't want the peace of God. But of course you do. You're watching this. We all do. So you're more than welcome to join us here and to continue to tune in. What typically happens here is there are several recordings per week here. And of course, we can watch them anytime. Anytime we're guided by our inner teacher to do so. Along the way, if you have questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. And you're most welcome to leave those here as well. And yeah, whatever's coming up, questions, comments, we can discuss. Thank you, as always, for joining me, and I will see you all again very soon.